how to master your triggers, how to be imperturbable, how to be this imperturbable awareness that you already are. Well, there is no how, is there? Because you're already this. But it's more a case of you got to stop doing something. What are you doing? You're believing yourself to be that limited mind-made identity, that character in the thinking that's in conflict with the other person, the situation. You're not that story in your mind, right? You're not that. You're this witnessing presence. You're this consciousness, this imperturbable awareness. That's your true nature. How to master your triggers? Realize and remember this by relaxing your attention back from the thinking. Right now, can you be aware that you're aware, that you're present, being? You can ask yourself the question, am I aware? Or what's aware? And you just relax back from the thinking, zoom out from the thinking, and be this presence of awareness that you are, not identified to the thinking, not believing yourself to be that limited separate self-identity. Now, there might be a situation in which you need to respond with a fierce boundary. There can be situations in life like that. They're hopefully rare, but they can happen. And yet we know that most of the time we're overreacting, right? There's been times where the emotional trigger is just so intense and it arises this intense nervous system activity, right? This intense bodily sensation, which gives rise to this personal thinking. And then perhaps for a moment it gets identified with, and you allow that to come out of your mouth or out of your behavior. And later you realize it wasn't the most conscious thing because you felt like you were overtaken by the thinking, pulled in by the thinking, like it took you over, like it possessed you. But all of this positions you as one with little power, with the power being in the hands of some made-up ego identity, some magnet of thinking that seems to pull you. There's no power there. You're consenting to it. You're allowing your attention to contract down onto that thinking and believe yourself to be that person. And it's happened here many times before, so I'm not pointing the finger. It can seem like a challenge, but it really is the most effortless thing. The real challenge, the real effort that we do, the real energy expenditure is contracting up, is believing ourselves to be small and frightened and threatened, and to be this limited character in the thinking that says, we got to do this, we got to defend ourselves in a certain way, we got to be right, we got to prove the other person wrong, or we got to just be dismayed at how silly or stupid someone else is, how they're oppressing us, how their behavior is just not on. Of course, these things may hold some relative truth. Relatively, people do terrible things sometimes. But are we going to carry that around? Are we going to allow ourselves to suffer by taking ourselves to be a limited identity who is a victim to that? Or are we going to be aware of ourselves as this imperturbable awareness, this stillness that underlies all the form, this presence before the thinking, this non-conceptual absolute reality of what you are, is imperturbable awareness. And so in this context of imperturbable awareness, in this context of existential safety, these old emotional triggers are going to come to the surface, seemingly in response to life situations. People say the wrong thing, they say that thing, or there's a situation that plays out that seems to trigger this nervous system reaction, this physically felt sensation, as you're resting as this awareness, by remaining aware that you're aware, can you feel any bodily sensation? Notice that sensation of yourself sitting on the chair, that feeling sense. And track inside the body with the spotlight of your attention as you also rest as the space, but feeling this cloud of energy, this perhaps cloud of density or contraction that may be present in this space of awareness, just as pure, raw, physically felt sensation, be that newborn baby that has no concept of tension, tightness, density, or nervous system, and just feel the raw, physically felt sensation, being this non-conceptual, impersonal, open awareness, feeling, naturally allowing the feeling by being this allowing, resting as this space which naturally allows these sensations to be here, and they may intensify and gradually they'll dissolve. The waves may come in sharper, sooner, shorter, but they can break, can pop sooner and dissolve sooner. So there's two aspects to this, you could say. One is immediate. You already are this presence of awareness. You already are this imperturbable consciousness, which before the thinking is always in pristine condition, despite any emotional or thinking state or any circumstance. You are this presence of awareness that's beyond and before that. And it's seeing it perceptually by relaxing back from the thinking and the idea that you're a limited person and resting as the openness. And that's always immediate. That's always instantly accessible. That's who you are already. And yet there is this time aspect as well, this gradual relaxing of the nervous system, this gradual releasing of all the anger, the fear, the anxiety, the unloving feelings, the emotional contractions, we might call them our childhood wounds or traumas, whatever it is, it's emotional energy that's due to be healed and released in the loving awareness that you are, as the loving awareness that you are, as you rest as this basis of the appearance, wisdom, insight, intuition, creativity, and natural harmony and resolution naturally, automatically arises just from being as you are. I am that. Discover that kingdom of heaven within, and all shall be added unto you, is the absolute truth. Being as you are. I am. I and the Father are one. Atman, the apparent individual self, is Brahman, the absolute reality, the universal consciousness, the self with a capital S, Sat Chit Ananda, existence, consciousness, bliss, as I rest as this consciousness which arises as all apparent existence. There is the recognition of eternal peace and bliss beyond feeling, thinking, and circumstance. Beyond the world, before the world, you are imperturbable, omnipresent beingness. So rest as this. Don't identify as the mind character, even though there may be these times where it seems to pull you in or suck you in or take you over or possess you. We must also be aware that these terms, when said as unconscious affirmations, are affirming ourselves to be one that is powerless over this thinking or feeling, which is some kind of magnet that can pull us in or suck us in, or that has some power over us. But the truth is, you are the ultimate power. Everything arises from awareness. everything depends on awareness. The whole apparent world borrows its reality from this beingness, the first cause of everything. And so as you rest as this, those data points, this information, all this form resolves, these feelings drop out, the nervous system relaxes as you're just being. And if you feel like there is a self, if you feel like there is an individual here, then have compassion for them. Have forgiveness for those times of feeling threatened, of feeling like one needs to react. It was based on an idea of needing to survive as a body and mind. It was rooted in past conditioning, in perhaps adverse childhood experiences, or even adult experiences that leave these contracted imprints in the body, in the nervous system, which in their exposure can feel very intense, very overwhelming. But the truth is, you are this beingness, this awareness that can never be overwhelmed by any of the content. Not the most intense feeling, not the most chaotic or dark thought. You are before and beyond that. You are this presence around that. There is no separation, non-duality, not two. Simply what is and isn't at the same time. That's how to master your triggers. See you in the next video. Peace.